There is no way that the housing shortage and the affordable housing crisis can get fixed in 5 years. It's impossible. It would be an act of God and God only to be able to fix the housing crisis in 5 years. There's no president, there's no governmental agency, there's no corporation that can fix this housing crisis in 5 years. You know who can make an impact on it though? Every single person that's sitting here today can make an impact on it. And not only that, let me tell you guys a secret. You can get wealthy doing it. So I'm going to teach you guys some cool stuff today. And one of the things I want to teach you guys more than anything is I want to teach you about this recession. I know that this recession has people scared. Look, guys, I started this journey of real estate and construction in 1998. I had a 460 credit score. For those of you guys who don't know my story, I was in pursuit to get rich from 1993. I used to tell my parents that I'm going to be rich. And I used to tell them, I'd go up to my parents and be like, I don't want a pension, I don't want a Timex at the end of my retirement, and I would insult them, and I felt bad for it because I was rude and disrespectful for what they had worked hard for. But I was so adamant about where I was going, I wanted to make sure that I didn't fail and I didn't do anything wrong to be able to hinder my financial future. And I was in a company called Equinox International. This company was an environmental health company. It's not the gyms that you guys are familiar with, that people go out and work out in. I sucked at the company for 2 years, made no money, but I learned how to lease desk space in my offices to make a living. That later turned into my real estate career in buying old buildings and leasing them and then making a profit off of the buildings where I housed my business. I didn't know anything about real estate. I knew how to do that. I learned how to do that. It took me 2 years to figure that out, by the way. Wasn't the most intelligent person in the room. But by 1995, 96-ish, I had figured out how to run this business. I became one of the top 30 money earners in the entire company. 1997 rolls around, the FTC shuts us down. We grew too fast. We didn't know how to pivot quick enough. And they came in, we got aired on 2020. You guys know Barbara Walter? She interviewed us, and they shut our company down in 1997, along with about 1/3 of Amway and a few other companies, a company called New Vision. There was a ton of us that got shut down that year, or within that year period. And so I had offices all over the United States, Jacksonville, Florida. Okay, we had an office over in Virginia. We had an office over in Albuquerque. We had an office in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Any Pennsylvania people in here? And I was traveling across this country in a little truck, going out and building this business. I had a little 4-banger Nissan pickup truck. It was black. And I used to drive that little 4-banger, winding up at about 4,000 RPMs across the country at 80 miles an hour because it probably wasn't supposed to go over 70. And I drove that thing from office to office, down from I-10 on San Antonio, all the way to I-10 to Jacksonville, all the way up through the Carolinas and all the way back up to Virginia, all the way up to Pennsylvania, all the way back down through Tennessee, taking I-40 all the way back down to Albuquerque. I circled this country from corner to corner for 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to pursue my dreams. Some of you guys sit here today, and I want to congratulate you guys because those of you guys who invested to be here today, put your hands together with a warm support and love for you for being here today. I did that all over the country, and I was in the seats just like you guys, training people, being trained by people. I became a trainer. But when this thing fell apart, ladies and gentlemen, what landed up happening was I landed up with a 460 credit score. For those of you guys that are challenged financially, I had 26 lines of bad credit on my credit report at that time. I was sitting back, I was in my young 20s still, and I was over $106,000 in debt. And now this is 1997. $100,000 in debt is like $1 million right now in today's current market. It felt that way. I didn't know how I was gonna dig this hole that I had dug for myself. I didn't know how I was gonna get out of it. But I was at a place in my life where it didn't matter. I just knew that I had nothing to lose, and there was only one place to go, and that was up. And so I went back to college to finish my last year in college. And I was still running a little sales team for a little tiny sales company that me and a couple buddies put together over in Austin and San Antonio, Texas. I would literally fly on Sunday nights, I would fly home. I would hit school Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. I'd moonlight doing network marketing with other companies during the week. Then on Fridays, I would fly back. I would run my sales company. And then on Sundays, I'd run back and I'd come back and do school. And not only that, we were also flying out. We were doing trainings like this for sales companies. And we were doing stuff for iLink. We were doing stuff for New Skin, Farm&X. We were doing stuff for tons of network marketing companies at that time. And so I was trying to figure out just how to get back in the game and fix my credit, okay? Now, some of you guys might have noticed some of our vendors outside and some of our sponsors. Some of these people are people that we work with, some of them aren't, but I'll tell you guys, it was through the network of people that I had that I was able to redo this. And so if some of you guys are sitting here today and you're financially challenged and just getting started, I'm gonna show you some ways that you guys can get started. And we're gonna show you guys how to be able to scale your business and how to be able to utilize the tools that we're utilizing to do so. It's impossible, guys. I'm gonna show you guys some stats. There is no way that the housing shortage and the affordable housing crisis can get fixed in 5 years. It's impossible. It would be an act of God and God only to be able to fix the housing crisis in 5 years. There's no president, there's no governmental agency, there's no corporation that can fix this housing crisis in 5 years. You know who can make an impact on it though? Every single person that's sitting here today can make an impact on it. And not only that, let me tell you guys a secret. You can get wealthy doing it. How friggin' cool is that? So this article is really cool. Everything that's in here is talking about COVID-19 and just letting people know that what's happening with affordable housing wasn't caused by effects of COVID, guys. This was living way before that. If you go back to the Great Recession and you go back to 2007, 2008, you guys will understand that we contracted so much. We as a US American population, we build about 10 million homes every decade. We only built 6 million homes between 2009 and 2019. And so the housing shortage, we were already short homes. The housing shortage began when the market compressed in 2008, okay? Now, what's cool about this compression is it continues to make it worse. So the good news for you guys is that it makes it worse, so we have more opportunity. When we go up and we look at agencies like Habitat for Humanity, I respect the company of Habitat for Humanity. We do work with Habitat for Humanity. We do a lot of donations to Habitat for Humanity. So if you guys see my apartment builds or my office builds and we're tearing shit out of them, it's because we're giving all that stuff. We've set it in a pile. Habitat comes in, they pick all that stuff up, and they go out and they repurpose it into housing. It's one small nonprofit organization that tries to make a difference in the world. They did a study, and Harvard Business School went out and did this study, and they worked side by side with Habitat for Humanity to see how big this problem really was. And what they found is that their soaring housing prices led to a substantial rise in housing costs and burdening the first time in 10 years, guys. 10 years. 37 people out of 100 get affordable housing. The rest of them that need it get a big fat no. Now, I go back to my parents' story, and my parents are prideful. They hear me say this on stage, they'll kill me. But we lived in government-assisted housing. It was a government-assisted program, not government-assisted housing, government-assisted program to be able to take somebody starting their life and give them a means to buy a home back in the 1970s when I was growing up, okay? And so when they did that, my parents were able to buy a 3-bedroom home that we were able to live in until I was 8 years old. And my dad went out with his bare hands and literally built us a 3,000 square foot home that he built every single weekend and after work for a year and a half to put us in this home, okay? Now, without that government assistance in that first home that they bought, we wouldn't have been able to do that because they were still able to take that home, sell it for a profit, and utilize that money. And the first house that my dad built that was 3,000 square feet, he paid $75,000 to build that home. Now, you can't even buy a piece of land for $75,000 anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And so right now, those programs are more needed than any other time in history. But unfortunately, close to 70% of our population is getting X'd out of it. Now, what does that mean for you guys? Opportunity! 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 Ladies and gentlemen, a mentor of mine years ago, he said, Jerome, if you find and can see a massive problem and you can find a solution to that problem, you can get rich. You can get wealthy solving that problem. How many people want to get wealthy solving the number one worst problem that we have here in America?